Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Travis, and I'm here today. I'm going to break down my Gencon deck list that made it to the finals and ultimately lost to a Neil Seathram, who also beat me at Origins, so he's kind of my Gary Oak. I had a lot of questions about this list, and obviously Phoenix making it to the finals is kind of crazy hype because usually Phoenix has not performed well at Kotei's. But I'm here to break down my list, why it works, and give you all the cards in and why they're in there. So let's start with the provinces. I always like to start with the provinces. Actually, we should probably start with the stronghold. So Kaidan, as you can see up here, is the stronghold I ran. It's a very, very strong stronghold. Basically, action draw a card and play it as if it were in your hand from your discard pile. So it's essentially just extra card advantage. You can use this to keep putting on pressure and steam even when like you're running low on cards in hand. So it's quite good against Dishonor decks because it gives you those extra cards, and it's just quite good in general for the aggressive theme of the deck. Going on to provinces, we're going to start with Manicured Garden. This is just the best air province there is. The deck is very fate hungry, so we run Manicured Garden to give us that little bit of extra fate and help us play our cards. For fire, we got Meditations. Once again, just the best fire province right now for us. Being able to remove a fate from another character gives us some board control. If we end up actually hitting a character with this and it ends up removing them from the board, then that's a big deal going into next turn because that's less stats we have to push through or defend. Rally to the Cause almost always goes on the stronghold, and by almost always, I mean I can't think of a situation where I wouldn't. This buys us an extra conflict essentially against most decks where we flip it to their weak stat when they attack us, and then we can defend lightly and then get an extra conflict ourselves before that they're really threatening the stronghold break. So this buys you an extra conflict typically on your stronghold. And when your deck is aggressive like this, usually that extra conflict means that you get to attack their stronghold now and potentially win the game. So that's quite strong. Shameful Display needs no introduction really. This card's insane. It's the best void bombs in the game. It's better than Korimori for this aggressive style deck. Korimori would be better for a control style deck, but with the way this deck works, if they hit a Shameful turn 1, you just defend, stand your guy. You've now got +2/+2 on that guy permanently. It's quite strong, and if you get like one of your strong holdings on it, it's also very good. Upholding Authority used to be Public Forum, but Upholding Authority is much better than Public Forum nowadays. Public Forum used to fulfill a similar role to Rally to the Cause, but you couldn't put it on your stronghold. You had to put it in your row, and therefore it became a very farmable province that didn't really hurt your opponent. Now we have Upholding Authority. Very strong effect. Everyone remembers Policy Debate. This is a super Policy Debate. You get to discard all copies of whatever card is in their hand that you think is going to give you the most trouble. So very strong, and opponents are really afraid to break this, I have found. And a lot of times they'll just stumble into breaking it accidentally because they don't remember it exists. Going on to Dynasty, we're going to start with our 1-drops. We got Naive Student. Naive Student's just a very solid 1-drop. People used to hate on him a lot in Core Set because he's not Bayushi Liar, but the real strength that Naive Student has over Bayushi Liar is favor control. 9 times out of 10, I view him as 1 for a Keeper Initiate that stands for favor, thanks to his 2 glory, and then draws me a card when he leaves play. So most of the time, I hardly ever use him for his Dash 2 body just because it's really easy to force shame him or court games him into doing nothing. So I think he's just better standing for the 2 glory for favor. That said, you do sometimes have to use him as a body, and you just got to learn to judge those situations and use him appropriately. But again, really solid card. Solemn Scholar, another very solid card. Best 1-drop Shugenja we have up until pack 5 where we get Ethereal Dreamer. So his stats are kind of lackluster, 1/1/1. It's like okay, but his ability, if you can turn it on, is absolutely supreme, and people forget about it all the time. While the Earthring is in your claimed ring pool, you just bow an attacking character. This includes your characters as well, so don't forget that if you attack into Feast or Famine and you have the Earthring, you can use your Solemn Scholar to bow your guy for free, so that you're not breaking that Feast or Famine or any other nasty break province. I've seen some Abandoning Honor as well in some decks that can be really devastating to hit at the wrong time. Alright, we're going on to the 2-drops. So we start with the Adept of the Waves. Really solid core set staple 2-drop. This card was always good. It's still good today because we have the Water Ring focus thanks to being Keeper of Water. Getting Keeper Initiates off of it, but giving yourself covert, always strong. being able to just avoid your opponent's best character unless they also have covert. And the nice thing about Adjust of the Waves is he's very flexible. He can give it to any character. You don't have to pick. And then 2/2/2 is okay. If he's honored, he's actually really strong. And usually one of many Phoenix 2-drops who eat Assassinate a lot because of their strong effects. Moving on, we go to Suki. Suki, another strong 2-drop based on the Water Ring. Again, I view her kind of as like a Phoenix version of Brash Samurai. So you have Suki on board, you claim the Water Ring, and then you honor Suki, and she's a 3/4 for 2. So kind of, again, a Phoenix version of Brash Samurai who becomes a 4/3 for attacking alone. This is a similar level loophole. It's just the Water Ring being claimed. She can honor other characters as well. However, there's not too many scholars in this deck. There is Suki, there's the Solemn Scholar, and there's the Naive Student. And I do believe that's all the scholars. So 9 times out of 10, she's going to be honoring herself. Sometimes I'll honor another scholar if she's already honored and she's been around for a couple turns, or if it's just better to honor that Naive Student or something else because I need to use them in another conflict. Salona, the new girl on the block, she is quite insane. So basically, you can play any air card. It does not have to be a spell. It does not have to be a Kiho. It can be a character as well. So she'll trigger off Seeker of Knowledge. I'm not running Seeker of Knowledge in my deck, but that's just something worth noting. It does not have to be a spell. And she does not have to be participating. So basically, the second your opponent puts a non-unique character in a conflict that is decently statted or a threat, you can just play an air card and then bow it. She eats Assassinates all day. People don't want to deal with Uana, and for good reason. Just a very, very strong card against many clans. Against Dragon, it's less effective, and against the Phoenix Mirror, it's less effective thanks to the large number of uniques. But against like Scorpion, Crane, Crab, she'll do so much work for you. She will single-handedly win you a lot of games if left unanswered. Keeper Initiate we run because we're a keeper role. If you're running a keeper role and you're not running Keeper Initiate, I'm wondering why you're running a keeper role. This is basically the benefit of the role, is getting a bunch of free 1/1s as the game goes on. So this is to make up for Seeker Fate, and in general, in this deck, these Keeper Initiates play a very important role with some cards in my conflict deck. As once you see one Keeper Initiate, because of our strong control over the Water Ring and ability to win it a lot, Keeper Initiate is basically always in play, and each one I see is basically a permanent 1/1 on the board. It's quite strong. Mia Mystic we run as a tech against Dragon and Crab. You just sometimes want the extra attachment control. Where I use Let Go for spot removal on things that need to be removed right now, like a Talisman of the Sun, or maybe a PFB sometimes, or a Finger of Jade. Mia Mystic is really good for killing those attachments that stick around, such as Spyglass, or Cloud the Mind on one of your characters, or basically anything that doesn't need to die right now. Mia Mystic is good for, because then you can use the 1/1 body and then you can let go something. So you can kind of view him as one fate of his cost goes towards the 1/1 body you get to use, and then one fate is an extra let go, essentially. So he's actually quite worthwhile, and being a Shugenja in this deck is quite useful as it helps boost Supernatural Storm as well. Another thing to note is that if your opponent's character is going to be leaving play with 0 fate and you know their deck has Reprieve, like Dragon and Crab, you can buy a Mia Mystic and then keep him around to sort of deny that Reprieve. So if they play the Reprieve, you can just kill it with the Mia Mystic. If they don't play the Reprieve, then you just don't use the Mia Mystic to keep the Reprieve off the character. So quite strong in the right situation. One Atsuko. Atsuko is a very powerful Shugenja, but not powerful enough to really be like a staple. In my opinion, I like her in the situations where she's very good, namely late game when you have big boards, where her effect will do a lot for you. A Stronghold push with Atsuko is still just as strong as it ever was, but early game she's a little lacking. So I usually like to keep her for big late game boards, and if I happen to see her, then good. If not, oh well. That's why she's just a 1x. Kudaka's a new darling of the cycle as well. You see this card everywhere. That's because it's just a strong neutral Shugenja, good stats for cost. The ability is solid. It's not like amazing, but it's solid. Just getting a fate in a card off the air ring makes the air ring, a worthwhile ring to attack, even in a tempo deck. And one glory. I should probably mention it now that a lot of my high end, I tried to keep the glory low. This is to help shore up the Scorpion matchup, or sometimes even the Crane matchup, where your characters will often be dishonored. And this way, even if Kudaka is dishonored, she's still a 2/3, which is very solid baseline stats, rather than being like a 0/2 or something like that. Moving on to more deck. This character is really good in the Scorpion and the Crane matchup, where you basically can turn off their entire deck, and less good in the Dragon and Crab matchups where like it doesn't matter as much. So Master of Gisetoshi, just pretty much a card that's there to help shore up those matchups where the events matter a lot more. 2/4/1, very strong stats again. 1 glory means that it's just a 1/3, so it's still a very strong political body, even if it's Dishonored. And since the deck doesn't focus so much on honoring your characters, you can still do lots of damage with this. Very strong card. It's one of my favorite cards to use Clarity of Purpose on, just because of the 4 base political. So like if you can get a Master of Gisetoshi and give it a couple ornate fans, then it just becomes a political truck. So for an ornate fan, this becomes basically Hotaru. That doesn't get neutered when Dishonored. And we move on to our real workers. Prodigy of the Waves is a real truck in this deck. If you can manage to get this card honored, it's absolutely insane. If you can't, then it's just pretty good. If she's Dishonored, she's not so great, so I often pass her over in the Scorpion matchup, but we'll buy her in every other one. The effect does not require you claim the ring, so you can just ready this character as long as the water ring has been attacked and claimed by somebody. And again, if you honor her and manage to keep it stick, then you have a 5/5 body plus attachments, and you get a free against the waves every turn for free. So very strong pushing body for the aggro deck. You can easily put this in all 4 conflicts. It's basically the Phoenix equivalent of a Neaton Master. And moving on to the Phoenix equivalent of like a super guest of honor, Asawa Tadaka is the real workhorse of this deck. This card is like a beast 5-drop. No other 5-drop in the game comes close to what Tadaka does. Mitsu is on a close, but still not on the same level for Dragon now. And I mean, there's not much to say here really. Tadaka basically reads your opponent cannot play events that are in their discard pile. So if you manage to draw out lots of events, which we're very good at because we're an aggro deck, or a tempo aggro deck, your opponent's going to be playing cards to try and stop you from breaking their stuff and trying to push through breaks on your stuff. And then you just like slam Tadaka a couple turns later, and then their entire deck is turned off, and Tadaka will lock the game down for you. It becomes very hard to win an Earthring to turn off Tadaka's ability when you also can't play cards. So if they attack the Earthring, you can just defend it, or you can display it, power it very easily because they can't play cards. And you just like win the conflict, and you keep them locked. So Tadaka, usually I will buy with like 3 or 4 Fate every time I see him. I want him to stick around the rest of the game when I buy him because his ability is that impactful and will win me the game. Moving on, we got Favorable Ground. This card's a must-run right now. It was a must-run before, in my opinion, at 3x, but now it's like even more so thanks to Hawk Tattoo. But Favorable Ground is very useful. It allows you to do fainting attacks. It allows you to like pull out of defenses where your opponent has committed so much and still salvage the character. It allows you to avoid covert, so like if they covert your character, you can move them in and defend still. It allows you to deal with Hawk Tattoo, which is probably the most important and most obvious one on everyone's mind. If they Hawk Tattoo your character in, you can just Favorable Ground him back out and salvage that situation and get +1 military to boot. So yeah, Favorable Ground, run it 3x. 2, Forgotten Library. Forgotten Library is a card that I have actually quite laned on in recent times. I've even gone down to 1 or 0 libraries in a couple of my builds. But it's still very strong. Just again, a holding that just draws you a card every turn. You can view this as a naive student. You don't have to buy, so it saves you some Dynasty tempo. Still strong. I'm running it in this situation. I think 2 is the right number. I don't like 3 because then they tend to clog up provinces a bit too much for my taste. And then finally we have Kanjo District and the Imperial Palace. These are a pair of 1x holdings that are just really strong. Kanjo District, again, if you get it online, you basically will win the game. It's very hard to come out of a Kanjo lock unless you are massively ahead on board, because I get to choose your best character and Void Fist it out of here for free. Doesn't matter what conflict it is. It can be on attack, it can be on defense, it can be at any province. Kanjo District is just a truck. And the Imperial Palace will help us get some favor control. This card is also insane. It's probably in like every deck. Just +3 glory for the Imperial Favor means that you pretty much get the Imperial Favor unless your opponent is also showing the Imperial Palace or winning horrifically. I have actually managed to steal the Imperial Favor from people with the Imperial Palace just because I won all the conflicts and then had some guys standing at the end thanks to all of my stand effects. But still, Imperial Palace, run it. It's a good card. +2 as well on both of these holdings. Just gives you that extra boost. Moving on to conflict and the last 40 cards. So this is where a lot of the interesting stuff is. A lot of the stuff is fairly standard, like nothing super surprising here, I hope. Conflict stuff, I like to start with the characters actually, and not the attachments. So we're going to start with the characters. We have 3 Shrine Maiden. This card is just gross. It can be Ancestral Recall for 1 Fate and a 1/1 body. And if you don't know, Ancestral Recall was a magic card that cost 1 mana and drew 3 cards and was promptly banned very quickly. But not often is the case here. Usually I draw 1 or 2 cards off it, but even still, just a 1/1/0 body that replaces itself in your hand is up there with one of the best 1-cost conflict characters in the game. And it helps you find the cards you really care about in your deck: the Supernatural Storms, the Hurricane Punches, the Stands, and the Cloud the Mines. Like, those are like all the most important cards. The stuff that it discards, such as attachments, the Fantana and stuff, maybe like a Bonsai, those I care less about. So this helps filter for your best cards and add them to your hand. So quite strong. I couldn't think of replacing this ever. And then Feral Ningyo, the deck, the card for which the deck has earned its name. This card is insane. This is the best card I think Phoenix has gotten this cycle for this style of deck. Feral Ningyo is just a free 3/2 body that's not assassinatable, has 0 glory, so they have to spend multiple cards to deal with it, and they can't just dishonor it. And it goes into the conflict where we get Keeper Initiates if we win, and the best tempo ring, in my opinion, which is the Water Ring, because it can be used to bow opponents' characters with no fate, which does happen. Eventually characters have no fate. It's part of the game. And also can be used to ready your characters. So, and you can play multiple of these. Like, I can't tell you, I think the first game against Gunner in the round 1, he assassinated my character when I attacked water, and I didn't care. I think I dropped 2 Ninjos and broke his province anyway. And since he didn't defend because he thought the assassinate was good enough, it was just a free win. I got like 2 Keeper Initiates off that. It was great. So Feral Ningyo, awesome card. And the best part is that it shuffles back into your deck so you can redraw it. You late game, you just have an absurd late game pressure point where you have 2 or 3 Ninjos still in your deck. Let's say you discarded 1 to a Shrine Maiden, unlucky. But like, if you have 2 or 3 Ninjos in your deck late game and you're just like shuffling them back in, you're drawing them every turn. That's easily +6 to +9 military, and you just attack water. Your opponent is forced to waste a conflict attacking water, and then you just defend it with the Ninjos. You don't even use any characters, so they're forced to attack you water just to deny you using your Ninjos to attack them. And then next turn, your first player, you redraw them, you do it again. So super strong card. Allows you to defend water without giving characters. It allows you to really push water breaks. Tons of stats. Just, again, one of these, this is one of many cards that just adds a lot of stats, and that's why I consider this a tempo aggro deck. Going on to attachments, we've got 3 Fine Katana and 3 Ornate Fans. This is nothing standard, or substandard, I should say. We have a lot of standing effects, and so these attachments get a lot of extra value because we're using our characters in multiple conflicts. So 0 for +2, and we draw lots of cards too, so 0 for +2 military and 0 for +2 political are pretty strong for that exact situation. Oh hey, there's these down here, I didn't even notice these. Sweet. So we're going to go on to Cloud the Mind. We have 3 Cloud the Mind because we have a lot of Shugenja. Self-explanatory, this card is great. There's a lot of really strong text boxes in this game. Cloud the Mind will allow you to deal with those and remove them. 9 times out of 10, this will get let go, I think. But just preventing that threat where it doesn't get let go, or say you maybe censure their let go and then have Tadaka, just being able to remove threatening text boxes is quite strong. Guest of Honor is a common one that you really need a Cloud for. What's another one? Most of Dragon's characters, but again, you're less likely to stick a Cloud the Mind against Dragon thanks to Let Go. But nearly every Dragon's character is like, I really want to Cloud it and want it to stick. Against Scorpion, Kachiko can be a real problem because of her high political stats. This will just deal with that problem quite well. And then finally we have Hawk Tattoo, the dark horse of the meta, or maybe not dark horse is the right word, maybe just like villain of the meta. So this card is less good than I think a lot of people think it is. It is good. Don't get me wrong, it's very good. 1 cost, harpoon anybody, very strong. But I don't think it's as meta warping as people think it was. It was not played that much at Gen Con. It was in a lot of decks, to be sure, but I don't think like any of my games like were lost because my opponent like played Hawk Tattoo, right? And I don't think I won hardly any games because of just Hawk Tattoo. I think I won one because I played 2 and Harpooned his whole board turn 2. And so I was up 3 breaks to 1 by the end of that turn. But it's just a solidly good card. It's slightly better than Miyamoto's Fury, I would say. So whether or not it's going to get restricted list because of that, I don't know. I think an errata would probably be the most functional thing FFG would do. But still, play it on any character, move it in. If it's a monk, you get an additional action. Sweet. I actually did have one game where I won simply because of the +1 military, so I actually played this as intended, as a +1 military attachment. So, not bad. That's 4 of our influence right there. Going on to events, we have 2 Bonsai. Again, more stats, more push, more just aggression, really. I think 3 Bonsai is too many with how many cards we draw. So 2 is just right. Again, 4 military for 0. Just more stats. It's just how the deck rolls. 1 Benten's Touch. This is a utility card for sure. So there's a lot of use for Bentens. Like if you attack and you're not winning, you can just Bentens your guy. Like say they overdefend, and now they're winning, and you don't really want you decide it's not worth the cards to try and push, or you don't have the cards to push. You just use Benten's Touch to honor your guy and walk out with a fire ring, and your opponent just gets the whatever ring you attacked. And that's that. So Benten's Touch quite strong there. The other main use of Benten's Touch is to avoid bad provinces, similar like when I mentioned with the Psalm Scholar. So things like Feast or Famine, Abandoning Honor, these really nasty provinces. Even like Shameful Display, if you don't want to fight through the Shameful Display there, like they'll use it and then you can just re-honor your guy and it's not the end of the world. So very strong utility card. And it's an air card for Uwana, which is another thing. Uwana often will bow to honor somebody and then bow someone on their side with the air text here. Not bad. I should also mention, in the case of Uwana, Cloud the Mind is also an air card. So remember to trigger her if you play a Cloud. Cloud is probably her main trigger in this deck. 1 Censure. So with this deck, I get the favor well enough, but I don't get it often enough that I really want to commit to lots of Censure. So 1 Censure did do a lot of work for me. Also with 1, I usually am able to. It forces me to be more cognizant of how I use it. So like I need to just like think about what my opponent could play based on their fate and the state of the board and whether or not I have Tadaka. And then I use the Censure on the event that I think is the most impactful. Especially with Tadaka, if they play an event, they probably already got a ton of events in their discard pile that Tadaka's turning off. They might play like a Fate Worse Than Death on Tadaka or a Let Go to remove a Cloud on their guy. And you can censure that, and now Tadaka turns off all copies of the card you just censured. So 1x feels right to me. You don't want too many because you're an aggro deck still. You want to be able to push through those breaks. 3 Court Games, best neutral card in the game. Not much to say. Permanent stats on anybody. So usually I use this to honor my own guys and not dishonor my opponents. But I mean, you just got to be flexible, and that's one of the great things about the card is that it is super flexible. You can use it to dishonor your opponent's guys or honor your own. But because we have so many stands, honoring my own is definitely the preference here. And yeah, Court Games will be 3x in every deck for a good while, I believe. This because it's so insane. Honoring and dishonoring is just permanent stats. So if you honor a 2 glory guy, that guy now has a free Katana and Ornate Fan for the rest of the game. 3 Hurricane Punch. This is definitely the card that's drawn the most puzzled looks and Inquisition on my deck. Because you'll notice that, well, let's start with the card. So you choose a monk, you give them 2 military, and you cantrip, right? But I only have 6 monks. I have 3 Shrine Maiden, and I have 3 Keeper Initiates. And so the number one question is that enough monks to play Hurricane Punch? The answer is yes, it absolutely is. And I'll tell you why. The first reason is that Keeper Initiates, as I said before, we have strong Water Ring control as Keeper of Water. Keeper Initiates will almost always be in play as soon as you see one of them. So if you see 1 Keeper Initiate, your Hurricane Punch is basically online the rest of the game. So because you'll always have him in play. If they assassinate him, you can just tack water again and get him back. So it's not terribly difficult to have the Hurricane Punches on. Similarly, if you don't see Keeper Initiates, you have Shrine Maiden. And Shrine Maiden being a conflict character makes this pretty easy to line up as well. You draw 5 cards every turn with this deck. And you have libraries, and Shrine Maiden herself can find Hurricane Punch because it's a Kiho. So it's not terribly hard to line up a Shrine Maiden with a Hurricane Punch as well. Think about how many times Crane has lined up Steward of Law with a Force Shame. It's very similar to that. You just have to be cognizant. So like if I'm holding 2 Hurricane Punch, and let me do this the other way. If I'm holding 2 Shrine Maidens and I've already played one, and I haven't seen any Hurricane Punch, I'm gonna save one or both of those Shrine Maidens until I see some Hurricane Punches, unless I absolutely need to play them right now. So you just have to be a little bit cognizant of your monk count. So like if you're unlucky and you don't see Keeper Initiates, then just don't play your last Shrine Maiden when you still have 3 Hurricane Punches in the deck. It's not that hard. The card is never dead. It was never dead in any of my 12 games I played. So it's pretty straightforward. And it gives you +2 military, again, more stats, and it's free. So if you play Hurricane Punch on your Shrine Maiden and they assassinate your Shrine Maiden, you didn't go down 2 cards, you went down 1 card. And you probably went down 0 cards because the Shrine Maiden probably drew the punch or drew you another card. So you went up on cards and they went down 3 honor to kill your Shrine Maiden. That's like a huge plus on tempo and resources. Alright, so moving on. Hurricane Punch also 1 influence, so we can afford to run 3. And that'll give us our full 13 with the dragon. And then we have 3 let go. Again, attachments are very big. There's a lot of really strong one cost attachments like Cod the Mind, Reprieve, Talisman of the Sun, Spyglass, Watch Commander. There's several more. Pathfinder's Blade is another big one, but I usually don't let go of Pathfinder's Blade because the other ones are so much stronger. It's just a good utility card to have. Everyone's running some attachments, and the decks that don't, then you'll probably run over with Tadaka and Master of Gisei Toshi anyway. So having the let goes is not a big deal. This just makes your deck more versatile. Supernatural Storm, it's a bonsai on both stats, equal to the number of Shugenja you control. So usually this is +2 to 3 in like the earlier turns. Late game, I've gotten it up to as +6, as high as +6. So it's really your push card. Late game, this card can be just an absolute monstrosity and wins you breaks. And this is my favorite card to reuse with the Stronghold because it costs 0 and it's stat pumps, right? So you become like a better Dragon Stronghold if you get at least +2/+2 out of this. So like if you bow your Stronghold and get +3/+3 from a Storm, that's quite strong. 3 more cards. We have our 2 stand cards. We have Against the Waves, which is our restricted list pick. So choose a Shugenja, bow, or ready that character. 9 times out of 10, this can be used to ready one of your own characters. But if your opponent has a very impactful Shugenja that costs like 4 or 5, Crabs were running a lot of Kudaka and Kuniyori. And Steadfast Witch Hunter, I use Against the Waves all the time to bow those Shugenjas. Dragon Yokuni. Buying Yokuni against this deck is a really bad move unless you can protect him with a number of Finger of Jade. Because every single turn, I just bow him with Against the Waves, and your 5 Fate investment does very little. But still, nice flexible card. Definitely deserves to be on the restricted list. I've seen some sentiment saying it doesn't, but this card's absurd. No other card lets you choose between bowing an opponent's character and readying one of yours. So, definitely worthwhile restricted pick. Clarity of Purpose, very similar thing. Use this as a free stand. When you're defending political, you often will just play this as a first action so that your opponent can't mess with your guy, and then your guy will not bow at the end of the conflict. So you can keep using him. Very strong, definitely worth 1 Fate. Running 3 because very easy to reuse with the box again because it has the restriction of being used in a conflict and it's not really wonky. Against the Waves because it doesn't have that restriction, it can be used whenever. It can sometimes be a little wonky because our Stronghold does say we need to play the card during a conflict. So with Against the Waves it's a little weird, but with Clarity of Purpose it's pretty smooth. And our last card is 1 Display of Power. I could easily go back to 2 Display of Power, but I wouldn't go more than 2. Display of Power is just a Phoenix high-end card, right? You gotta expect it when you're playing against Phoenix. It's just a card that is Phoenix's like what's the word, like it's like their signature move, right? So again, I'm running 1X because I expected maybe there'd be a little bit more Yogo Kikyo in Scorpion decks, and I expected Scorpion to be very popular. And I figured Yogo Kikyo might enter decks thanks to cards like Maze of Illusion, Spreading the Darkness, and Phoenix. So I cut to 1X because getting your Display of Power Yogo Kikyo is super bad, but I didn't see hardly any Kikyo, so I could easily go back to 2X Display of Power. And if I were to do that, I don't know, I'd probably cut probably like 1 Clarity or maybe the Censure as like the lowest equity cards in the deck. But anyway, hopefully that's enough to give you guys some insights as to why I included a lot of the cards I did and how the deck kind of functions. Again, aggro tempo is the name of the game. You just you drop free Niños, you do big storms, you build a board, and you just get lots of stats from your deck here. So just build a board, try and like overfate your big guys with 2 or 3 fate, sometimes 4 in the case of Tadaka, and just run at your opponent and drop Niños on them, and you'll break provinces, I promise. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I enjoyed breaking down my deck. I always enjoy making content, and I'm going to get back into it, probably with a little bit more of a Phoenix bent and less of a podcast bent. So if you want to see more content like this, make sure you let me know, and I'll be sure to definitely help other Phoenix players out there maybe figure out what they want to do with the faction, because it's definitely not an easy faction to figure out. So until next time, guys, thank you for watching, and enjoy your day.